Bloomberg scoop, by the way, revealing that SpaceX has lowered its valuation target to at least $1.8 trillion. Elon Musk's company seeking to raise as much as $75 billion, which, of course, would make it the biggest IPO of all time. Let's bring in Matt Bloxham then from Bloomberg Intelligence. Matt, is this a negative signal, or is this a kind of usual run-up to an IPO? You have the adjustments, you get the feedback, and maybe you adjust lower, but doesn't necessarily tell you a negative story, or does it?
Yeah, no, I think it's more that, they're kind of bouncing back feedback from key stakeholders. It's a bit of a game of cat and mouse, isn't it, an IPO? You want to maximise the valuation for the selling company, but also you want to leave a little bit on the table for buying investors so that when it lists, you get a bit of a pop, everybody's happy. And, how far between those two kind of benchmarks you stray is kind of the art of being a banker, I think, on an IPO. And also, they haven't even started the roadshow yet, so I think that's going to start next week. Potentially, if that goes down well, then you could see that valuation kind of move back up towards the kind of $2 billion mark.
Yeah, it will be the largest IPO in history.
$2 trillion.
Pretty remarkable. So back in February, I remember the big story was that SpaceX incorporated xAI into the full structure. How is that going to benefit or even possibly detract from the business? I mean, how should we be thinking about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the way they're pitching this business in the S1, it was an essential part of pulling the story together because this is not just about rockets, it's not just about satellite broadband, it's about this kind of multi-decade view of creating gigawatts of data center capacity in space and then creating a million plus kind of permanent establishment on Mars. And so you can only do that with all of these things coming together.
Right.
Matt, defence and defence contracts and contracts with the Pentagon have been significant in terms of revenue driver for SpaceX. There's a review going on, I understand. What is the nature of that review? How significant could that be for the company?
Yeah, that's right. It's the committee that looks at kind of foreign investment in US companies, obviously given SpaceX's involvement in NASA and other government agencies, particularly military. I think there's inevitably always been a lot of scrutiny about SpaceX as a partner, but clearly a lot of focus on who are the investors in SpaceX. If they're foreign investors, does that potentially create a risk in terms of influence over the company and maybe the sharing of secrets that the US would not want to be shared? Now, for me, the bigger issue here is how much does the US trust Elon Musk? Because Elon Musk will control 85% of the business. So ultimately, it's what's he thinking and who is influencing Elon Musk. I think that's really the most important question.
The same US government he was an advisor for.
Correct.
Around the time of Doge.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you about SpaceX and the influence the IPO might have on the other big one, which is Tesla. Is there going to be a read across?
Well, I mean, actually, we were talking about this before we came on air, and at some point, will Tesla get rolled up into SpaceX AI too? And I think there's certainly a lot of expectation in the market that is coming down the road. Because Tesla is not really so much an EV business now, moving more into kind of robotics, involved in the terafab kind of chip production kind of capability. So, there are very strong links between the businesses already. I think it definitely wouldn't rule out the fact that at some point when the conditions are right that you could see a transaction happening.
Interesting.